I'm Chamberlain, Uso.
Don't worry, you get to understand why you saw that first in a moment.
I'm
But it's a beautiful Monday morning. A very cold one, really.
I need to understand. Oh, yeah.
Amaya Makinde, good morning. Yes, good morning and welcome.
Interestingly cold.
You see the
Lovely
cold.
weather, but
No buts.
the dusts.
It's a
the
lovely
big
weather.
bus.
It's not pleasant.
It's not? Or different stroke for different folks. Some
Different
love
strokes for
it,
different folks, yeah.
but others, some love it, of course. That's the way of the world.
Okay, so if you're coming from minus 20 or minus 10 and you come to our own 20 and 22, yes, you may love it.
This is a piece of cake.
But if you're coming from 39 or 35, 30 and you now come to 20, hey, it takes some getting used
Well,
to.
this is Lagos. You just imagine what's going on in Jos right now. Imagine what's going on in Kano, in those other really naturally cold environments. Now, guess what is happening in the riverine areas where it's naturally cold? Just try to imagine.
How about you tell us, really, send us mails and tweets. Let's know how you're coping with the weather. Because, I thought we were done with Hamatan, right? I thought it was going to be, December.
Did we
January.
even really start with it in December?
So apparently, Hamatan just thought, I'll show you very soon at the end of the month. Oh, goodness. And it comes with, the irritation to the nose. You have cold, catarrh, you have, sore throat and the rest. I know it might be tricky for a lot of people thinking, is this COVID? Is this not? It's important to always check those things and take care of yourselves.
And that's why some claims you have to take the flu shot when you get there, such that you just your body gets used to it, and you don't just break down in some other cases. But over here, we just go with the flow.
We are the flu
Just keep going. Just keep going.
And whatever happens, you go to work.
Yeah, absolutely. You show up.
You go to work, no matter what the nature of the job is.
Absolutely.
The example of these guys in Yobe State is an instance. No matter what it is, everyone is concerned about what's going to make life easier, a little easier for themselves.
But we need to also, if you look at the bigger picture, because I know that oftentimes we talk about the country. Well, rightly so too, because who can forget that UN report that says by 2050, Nigeria will be the third most populous country in the world. So unemployment is a big issue. Population growth is a big challenge if we don't address all of those. So you see a lot of heads that are idle.
Those are two very, very different issues you've raised, Chamberlain. On the one hand is population control, and the other hand is unemployment. I think the challenge for me here is whether we are futuristic or not about either of them, because they work some sort of symbiotically. Yobe State is just an instance in our conversation this morning of what is being done, though menial, but at least it is employment. There are three categories of, when we talk about employment. There is employment, there is underemployment, there is unemployment. Whether or not this is underemployment or unemployment is another thing altogether. But it's one thing to create employment, but then that's direct labor. The indirect labor, the value chain in every one of these things, I think that's what's really important in what's happening in Yobe State. The fact that there is a trailer park where things are, being done to make sure things are a little better. For God's sake, it's the largest cow market. And what do we move cows with? Trailers. So, and what's interesting
Not every time, let's be honest.
Okay,
sometimes
yes.
they move by, do I say foot now?
Yes, yeah.
Which is the main problem.
Which has been a challenge. But, I remember, and I see trucks move, cows and livestock and all of that. So that's the one we're talking about now, not the one that's a number of states are considering illegal now.
With that one.
Okay, exactly.
You just have to maintain the
But for the ones where you have to fix trailers, the value chain is what is being talked about here. And I think it is something that's really worth considering and expatiating on. For me, it is Yobe State. And Chamberlain, you talked about the fact that unemployment is not just a Yobe State problem, it's a Nigerian problem. But this is an example. How about we cascade these? Okay, if moving cows and trailers is what is peculiar for Yobe State, what is it that is peculiar in Oyo State? What's peculiar in Borno State? What's peculiar in Katsina State? That we can look at and capitalize on and expand the value chain.
Can I bring in a little bit of stuff about that one? Because, I don't know, do they have any structure? By that, when we talk about support structure, not even the superstructure or the huge infrastructure, no. Do they have support from financial sector? What about skill acquisition? To scale whatever it is that they're doing? Will they have the capacity to get more people in who will in turn create that circle? You speak about the value chain. There is also that ecosystem that should provide support such that you'll have one person doing something, they have that structure that supports them, they can leverage on that, get some financing, get some skill acquisition, improve their knowledge, benefit society. I don't want to go to the ivory towers, how some of the courses there are, they have no
Which
business.
is part of this report, actually.
And I think we should link it eventually, because you need to standardize these things. You need to do it in such a way that you can easily replicate.
Yeah.
I mean, let's get into the science of it. And that's how you find some of these organizations prospering, because they move to another environment. They understand that environment, but because they have a standard in place, they've made it scientific. They can always replicate, find ways to tweak it to fit into that environment. And I think, as you said, it's just understanding the value chain. So what is peculiar to Oyo State or Ogun State? Is it agriculture? Is it the industrial aspect? It's a no-brainer that we need to follow through. It's not just agriculture. Agriculture has a whole lot of value chain. There's food processing. I mean, there's the whole logistics. There's branding. Just packaging alone is big deal. Just providing the bags. There will be questions about what's happening to the rice pyramids, by the way. I know there were a lot of conversations around whether they will move to where they ought to be. That was just by the way. But, there's a whole value chain. There's the media aspect of it. You need to advertise these things. So we need to standardize, understand that for every business, for every sector, there's a process to it, so that we can take it from Yobe. I mean, it's amazing what they're doing here. This is just a little part of that whole value chain. And we can take it to Ogun State and say, let's spread it again. And, I mean, in a few months, years, we should be okay.
And we shouldn't let after be lost on us, because, you see, that debate about origin, point of origin, and all of those things, that's why countries have those trade agreements to protect the local industries. You don't just get into any society, any economy, and just begin to take on some jobs that locals can do and do properly. Yeah, I know we talk about local content, but listen, if you go and look at the components and dynamics of that, you may be surprised that there's only a minute aspect, perhaps in the oil and gas sector. What about all other industries? So you see people coming in here doing things that several people can do.
And talking about the oil and gas industry, perhaps to talk about some peculiarities, we just realized that an increasing number of illegal refineries have been discovered in Rivers State, right?
Right at the same time.
How about we standardize that? Okay, it is something it has eluded us over the years. Yeah, I mean, it's been illegal. But what is it that they're doing right illegally that we can't do right legally? How about we standardize these things? If refining is what is peculiar to Rivers State, why not find a system around it? Incidentally and unfortunately, or maybe is it fortunately or unfortunately, that one is under the purview of the federal government, right? But the modular refineries that we've been talked about, that we have been talking about for so long, how about is there anything that these illegal refiners are doing that we can find a way around? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there are lessons. Yeah, they are making illegal money, but guess what? Remove the illegal. What are they making?
What about the allegation that the police security agencies are involved?
That's because there's a lot of money in it.
Yeah,
actually.
Exactly. So the point here is, if that is what is peculiar, is there a way to create a structure around it, standardize it, not just for sustenance, but for sustainability? The challenge here, with what we're having with Yobe State is, it's just for sustenance. Live a day, make a meal, and the next day, live a day, make a meal. How about we create, just as you said, structures around these things? Find out what's peculiar to Enugu State. Find out what's peculiar to Anambra State.
Economic zones in this case.
Exactly. That Lake Order document of how many years ago? Let's find a way to standardize these things. Create unemployment, not just for sustenance. Live a day, for sustainability. Live for generations.
It would be nice to see that. Oh, Markway, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. It's always very difficult not to share Ayo's optimism. His optimism is very infectious. Almost as if he could picture it already. Why can't we do it? Let's go ahead and do it. Well, I think just a little patience. The story in Yobe is quite inspiring. We hope that, I can see that the state government is trying to tap into it and expand it and ensure that, it goes beyond just what we're currently seeing. And I think it'll be worth keeping tabs on to see just how they progress in that area, especially when you hear that secondary school students, who are currently in school, after school, go there to learn a thing or two. I even hear those in primary school as well, also still go there as well to learn a thing or two. And to think that, we're talking about fabricating our own trucks, that they actually make these things, for the transport sector. I think that it will be interesting to see. Interestingly, the private sector, they do not really discriminate. If they're able to get it cheaper and it works, they buy their products from there. It will be interesting to see if other areas of the country will be willing to patronize the trucks made in that place, and if it's something that other areas too, as you have pointed out, would like to replicate. But interesting story coming out of Yobe, especially since it's been ravaged by the insurgents as well. So it's good to see that life is gradually returning. The economy of the place is gradually picking up. So it's good to see that other types of stories are also coming out of this place. Gentlemen.
Yes, indeed. So we're hoping, we know it's not a strategy, but a good thing, eventually, if that cascades into the bigger picture, that would be nice to see. Well, we're going to go ahead and take you through some of the dailies today and see how they reflect what is going on. Today, we'll start with Daily Trust. Okay, look at the front page. Dozens killed in Niger, Katsina, Kaduna attacks. Terrorists overrun Niger security base, kill 11 operatives. Bandits sack Zamfara village despite 7 million naira levy. Attacks giving us sleepless nights. Katsina Emir tells Oshimbajo there'll be change soon. VP. Well. This is a handful, mouthful. Because they're just different dynamics, questions as to what is going on with this, how this appears to be normal, or how this, these days people are numb about some of these killings. Yeah. Because, look, I don't know, for whatever reason, it's not something that should be seen as normal. It's not something that we should be numb about, but how do we get to this kind of scenario where we're dozens killed? And when these killings happen, when they report them, they're usually in dozens. So you just wonder that even security operatives are not spared. So they come in, they demand levy, they take the levy, they kill the people, they go acquire more guns and get stronger. They dare security agencies, and VP says there'll be change soon. So perhaps that might be some light at the end of the tunnel, or silver lining in a dark cloud, if you will. Who knows? Then there's a bit of politics. 2023 tricky storms before Atiku. Yeah, you might also go on. I don't know what you guys make of CBN reducing ATM interbank transfer charges. Is it because some banks opened up some time ago and said, no, we're not going to charge you with all those transfer fees. We won't charge you any ATM. It's going to be free.
And that was melody to the ears of a lot of people, because they always wondered why. In fact, you can charge us a few things, but all these ATM maintenance card fees, and some of these things you don't understand why they charge you for.
And the digital banks coming up now, where it's simple to do certain things.
It happened within the telecom sector, where the big four said, the big three at the time said it's per minute billing only, a second not happening in 10 years. Next thing, bam, comes one of them.
Disrupted it.
And then this is just one of those things. Oh, it's a reduction now? Soon there will be an elimination.
Is that a prophecy?
No, I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic. Marco told you earlier.
Okay, it's infectious. We'll take a look at the Daily Times next. You have to find at least little time to to cheer up, because some of the stories we see on the front pages are really, really sad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you see this one: peace will return to all terrorism-affected communities. FG assures, urges Nigerians to continue to expect significant changes, improvement in nation's security architecture. So that's coming from the Vice President. Well, he had those words, I mean, words of hope and encouragement. And, you know, but how far will this go? Big questions to answer there. And you see, presidency to PDP, your comment on cancellation of Buhari's visit to Zamfara, shameful, disgraceful. That's, you know, on the side of politics. But take a look at this one. Resident doctors seek increase in health sector budget from 5% to 15%. The level of brain drain, which some have now termed brain gain. Still wonder how that works. But the level of brain drain is alarming, really. And I don't know if we're not seeing this, but it's a major one, honestly. But let's leave it there for the Daily Times.
It's not something that is happening for the first time. It's been happening for decades. The challenge of being futuristic or not remains with us, because brain drain started in the 80s, and we're still talking about it how many decades after that? The Leadership newspaper is next this morning, and the lead story is, I don't know what this one is cash drain, as you can see on the front page. Despite oil prices above $40 benchmark in 2021, FG states deplete excess crude account by $37 million. The story is on page 4. Only $35.368 million left. Is this true or not? You may want to find out the details. Government.
Which part are you asking? If
it's a question. I mean, I don't know. I haven't read the story, so I don't know whether it's from government.
It's okay. I just see the fact that you're shocked. You're just trying to work your way through it.
I mean, it is shocking, and to think that I'm losing money without knowing. I'm getting debit alerts and not knowing. You know, come on,
we
man.
all are. You know, it's a collective debit alert.
Let me personalize it, so maybe it will drive home the point to some people. Goodness. You know, government not saving excess crude sales. That story is on the front page of the Leadership and several others. Oh, this one right under the nameplate. Nigeria targets 141.250 billion naira from sugar tax on soft drinks, others. In other words, you're going to pay that. Y'all are going to pay it. It's the front page of the Leadership newspaper this morning. Okay.
Well, let's take a look at the Abuja Inquirer for you. It has this. Power tussle keeps Abuja pupils at home. Chairman education scribes war over recruitment. FCTA absolves self of blame. So it looks like something's been happening in Abuja for a while now, where teachers have refused to go to work in government schools, and they have said unless they see their alert on their phones, they're not going to move an inch. And it looks like this is the reason. Power tussle keeps Abuja pupils at home. That's what the Abuja Inquirer is covering this morning. And right there, Chairman Education Scribes war over recruitment, and FCTA says they're washing their hands of it. But page 3 will give anyone who's interested in this story, and we all should be, because this is something that affects the education sector, and we know those who are going to school will be or have been affected by this, and you know, we shouldn't fold our arms and keep quiet when children and their future is involved. Let's look at this. Other stories here. School census. FCTA threatens to shut down non-cooperative schools is also there. Drug peddling, development control to seal relaxation spots. It's on page 6. And they also have the special, the Babambola scourge in Abuja. Just in case you're wondering what Babambola is, I mean, there are these people who go around with carts made of steel, and they're constantly hitting it, you know, looking for scrap metal. And it looks like it's some scourge of sorts in the Federal Capital Territory. Page 12 might give you details on the Abuja Inquirer. Let's leave it there for the paper.
Well, on to Nigerian Tribune. They're talking politics, but just before that one, you can see what's above that lead story, which we'll come to in a minute. 19 killed, houses burned in fresh attack in Kaduna, Niger communities. Niger government mobilizes air force against terrorists on rampage in LGs. And he's one who had also said previously that he cried out that they're about to overrun the state. They needed help. He even formed some vigilantes, I think. He got locals to get in there. Look, how frustrated can a man be or a system be if you get to that level? It means that's almost to the bare bones. And then onto that list story, 2023, power must shift to South Middle Belt Forum as Ohaneze cautions Atiku. So that's what you see right there. Judiciary budget, NJC under pressure as lawyers raise concern over alleged lack of transparency. Ooh, there you go. And let's look at the back page, Tribune Sports there. Aruma sets new African record, hits top 11 in ITTF ranking. Good for him. John is moving again. He's joined Saudi Arabia's club, Al Hilal. Well,
from Al
making his money
to Al Hilal. That's a good one.
So there you go. Oh, there, Nadal wins record 21st Grand Slam. Wow, what a match. You know, these chaps have certain mentalities that you should apply to real life situations. Could get you very far.
Yeah.
Very, very far.
I see Medvedev being paid back in his own coin, because that was the sort of game he played with Felix.
Tsitsipas. Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
He was down and then he just came back up. But you know what? Good for them. Could have been Djokovic, you know. But another conversation for another day. Take a look at Vanguard's front page. Politics leads this morning, 2023. APC leaders split over Tinubu. Southeast may get presidential ticket. That's one of the riders. See, APC no longer a political party, but election platform. Ex-PGF DG laments. So he's still speaking, apparently, on these issues. Quite interesting to see the full context of that one. And it will be interesting to hear the response from the APC. It's a page 5 read, but it's something quite interesting, you know. Interesting swings both ways, by the way. Oil revenue stagnates at 4 trillion naira. And this is a time when oil prices, a barrel of oil hit $90, you know, last week, and you expect that would, you know, leverage on this as theft, pipeline vandalism, others constrain growth. Cautious optimism dominates outlook for 2022. It's a page 19 read. There's sports on the back page. Well, let's leave it there for Vanguard for
What
you.
did Mr. and Mrs. do to you?
Oh, yeah, Mr. and Mrs. They're talking about flats this morning. I don't really want to get into that conversation. I want to stay focused, but you can pick up a copy of the Vanguard to understand.
We will soon go to Lekki to get for you. The Guardian newspaper this morning has this one on its front page. Only 2.5 million motorists captured as insurers plan 7,500 naira for third party.
What does that mean?
No, third party insurance was 5,000 naira.
Was or still is?
Well, is
Still is, I guess.
well, plan 7,500 naira. That's
What does that ever achieve? I mean, what do they ever get from third-party insurance? For motorists, right?
So I think what people use it to just, show your papers, at least. So when you get to the
Have
checkpoint.
insurance.
But in operationalizing it, how many people have claimed? It's meant for the person you probably hit or something, but how many people have claimed that?
So some people are just making money.
well. Stakeholders agreed to review 18 years after policy was pegged at 5,000 naira. Inflation jerks costs of vehicle repairs. Subscribe to industry operators. Find out the details on the paper. Continues on the inside pages.
I hope it stays at that plan. Let's keep planning. That's it. We look at some of the dailies this morning. We're back in a moment. Stay with us.
A 30-day I Am Nigerian campaign kicks off online. Nigerians in the UAE affected by a change in government policy on work permits for unskilled workers hope to curry favor and change negative perspectives.
Before now, Nigerians have this opportunity here. If you have given us the opportunity before, it's not a right, it's a privilege. We appreciate them for that. We commend them for that. In fact, kudos to them. If there is anything that we want to make them to change it, we want to plead with them in a short form that they should reconsider our people.
It's now 7 months since hundreds of Nigerians have been jobless and in some cases homeless. Work permits granted by the Labour Ministry have been denied applicants new to the system as well as others who have been working in the country but cancelled their contracts to join new companies.
I tried and keep trying, and the company told me they need to start the project. So since they're not able to get the approval of the work permit from the authorities, they would have to defer my appointment. So that's how I got affected.
A work visa is the most common route to getting residency in the Middle Eastern country. This means all those who lost their jobs have also lost their residency status. Doctors, nurses, teachers are categorized as skills level 1 and 2. Under recent circumstances, their applications should be granted, but some in this category have also been affected.
If you are working as a customer service and your profile is having a waiter profile, then automatically there's going to be a problem when you want to renew your documents because it falls under skill level 3. So it is not going to be something that will be achievable as it is, since there is a problem at hand.
Even less than a week ago, there was a communication between myself, the leadership of pro-Nigerians in UAE, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And he gave another assurance that he's in contact and is working on this issue with UAE government. That is all we can say. What exactly they are doing, we may not be able to say. But the word of the Minister of Foreign Affairs is clear and sound that they are working and they are discussing, engaging and consulting with UAE government.
It's unclear why these restrictions have been introduced. Officials at the Nigeria High Commission say the UAE is repositioning for its next 50 years. Last April, the UAE cabinet adopted a strategy for talent attraction and retention aimed at placing the UAE among the top 3 countries in talent attraction and availability of highly skilled employees. However, many jobs denied Nigerians today are still open to other nationalities. Expectations are high that the Nigerian government will continue to engage the UAE government until there's a favorable resolution, especially since the UAE Foreign Commission recently opened a visa application and document attestation center in Lagos, Nigeria. In the meantime, the UAE Ministry of Labour has provided residents an opportunity to contact the minister on matters of concern. Some Nigerians claim they have received favorable answers through the portal. So maybe all hope is not yet lost.
Yeah, welcome back. That challenge about work permits renewal is where we're starting off with. As you may have seen in that welcome slide, Kaide Ogungbon joins us. He is the president, professional Nigerians in the UAE, as well as Esther Adidokun, who is a resident of Fujairah in UAE as well. Good morning, both of you. Thank you for joining us today on the program. Well, Kaide, we just saw you on that in that report. So if you could just bring us up to speed, what is the current situation now about this work permits, non-renewal of work permits for Nigerians?
Yeah, good morning, Shembale and Kayode and the third person. Sorry, pardon me for not able to recall your name. the issue is a bit complex because the job permit is not issued to some category of employees in UAE. It's not general. There are categories 1, 2, 3. We heard that the category 1 and 2 are going successfully. We also heard information that through our members that some in that category 3 are still going. It has been on ground from July 2021. We have consulted the Embassy of Nigeria in Abu Dhabi, likewise the Consulate of Federal Republic of Nigeria in Dubai. Also, we are in contact with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on this issue. Nigerian Diaspora Commission was also contacted. The chairman, Senate Committee, the vice chairman, Senate Committee on Diaspora, Senator Olori Egbe, and also the chairman, House of Rep on diaspora was also contacted. I'm aware that the diplomats in UAE, that is the UAE embassy, ably led by His Excellency Ambassador Muhammad Dan Satarimi, and the Consul General, the Excellency Taibat Atinuke Mohammed. They are all working on it, but so far we have not been able to get the result we are looking for, which is we want the privilege of employment of all categories. All categories. Let's mark that. We don't want certain category. We want all for Nigerians in UAE. That's the update.
Right. We reached out to some of those agencies which you spoke about, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, NIDCOM, as well as the Nigeria's rep in UAE, and they're not able to make the show today. So are you able to tell us a little more specifically, what is it that they arrived at when you say they're working on it? I imagine that this has been the narrative for a while now. So what does that mean when they say they are working on it? How far or close? Has anything been achieved? What specifics are they working on?
Let me give you an illustration. If you have a dog and the dog dances when you are coming, and at a point, the dog starts barking at you when you are coming, you must know that there is something. Unfortunately, there is no specific statement from the government what the causes of this are. But I think we'll still have to talk to the authority, the embassy, the consulate, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to furnish us with details on this. I think precisely, as I said in the report you showed earlier, the pro-Nigeria leadership cannot say in specific terms what they are doing, but the assurance they are giving us is that they are working on it. And we have every reason to believe them because they are the one that consult, they are the one that relate with the authority in UAE, they are the one that know what they discuss. So we may not be able to say specifically.
All right, let me bring in Esther. Esther, could you tell us, what is your own challenge?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Esther, and really, I'm going to tell you my situation. It's so critical that I had spent my savings, had to come back to Nigeria. Then again, I had to come back into the UAE because my husband stays here. What happened was that around last year, I used to work in an hotel, right? Whereas I used to be a nurse back in Nigeria. So fortunately for me, I got a job here in the UAE as a nurse. So, I have the option then to just leave whatsoever job it is I'm doing in order to pursue my career. So I got my job offer, and then I just got the shocking news of my life that they could not grant me a visa or a work permit. Then I was like, how? I don't understand. I don't get why. They were like, the portal is closed for Nigerians and all of this and that. And then I was like, oh, okay, let's see. So I was given, on the norms, I canceled my residence for the fact that I resigned from my previous place of work. So I was given 28 working days as a grace period to remain here in the UAE. And, for the 28 days, it was so very difficult for me. The only grace I had was that my husband was still working and he is still here. So that's just the only means of survival for me, because I could have a place. Just imagine me not having anyone here. I could have a place to sleep. I could have someone to feed me. Until after.
Sorry, Esther. Just to follow up on that, before you go a little further. So when you said you got that notice, it was cancelled before they gave you the 28 days period. Was there any warning before that time? What reason did they give?
Yeah, actually, before I cancelled from my previous company, I was hearing the rumor that they weren't giving work permits to Nigerians. But there are other companies like free zone companies, government companies, and the semi-government organizations, that they were giving work permits to Nigerians. And those people were not really affected. But for those working under the Ministry of Labor and some kind of LLCC, they aren't giving them a work permit. So, and by the time I got to my company, my PRO made me understand that it is an authority, like getting to the Ministry of Labor, that it was rejected, that there are no work permits for Nigerians.
What reason was
what
given?
They were told.
What reason
they were not
was
given
given?
any reason.
Okay.
Nothing.
No.
He just told us that the portal is not open for Nigerian work permits, that Nigerians are restricted on the system.
Was there any message from any other Nigerian who's been affected that this was the reason that they got, or this was the reason that was given to them?
A whole lot of messages. We've compiled all of our documents, the messages that was gotten from the Ministry of Labor to back up all of this information, the emails we got, and even calls. When it got to a point that we had to keep on calling the Ministry of Labor every now and then. And the moment you call them, they keep telling us that work permits are restricted for your nationality right now, actually. So we found out that after some time, at around December, we called them and they told us that, yes, work permits are going for Nigerians. And quote me, they said, work permits are going for Nigerian females for all skilled levels, for new issuance and renewal. But for the men, it's going to be skill 1 and skill 2. That work permits, renewal, and issuance is going for them. That was the information we later got. But even upon hearing those information, I kept on trying. My company tried once more, despite the fact that they had told me that the work permit was available for female Nigerians. Still, it wasn't going through. It wasn't.
So I know this is nearing noon where you are, and it's sad to think that there are a lot of Nigerians who actually traveled there with the hope of, as you said, furthering your career or
because
getting things better, and they're not doing anything right now.
Nothing, because I had to come back after the 28th grace period. Sorry to cut it short. My husband had to struggle, had to pack everything he has. I had to book my tickets to come back home because already my residence was cancelled. So I don't have an option. And at that moment, I had an issue. My passport, I had like 6 months to expiring on it. So there is no way I can remain. And at that period, we had issues at the embassy. Passport renewal was taking like 2-3 months or so. So I just had to exit the country too, in order not to have immigration issues. So I had to exit. I had to come back to Nigeria. I did my passport, and then I had to come back to the UAE again to come and retry.
Wow. I just want to quickly get this from you before I go back to Mr. Ogugbomo. So he mentioned the categories, 1, 2, and saying some on 3 are being granted the work permit, or the work permit is being renewed. As a nurse, which of the levels do you belong to?
I am in level, that's skilled level 2, because my certificates are attested. I have my certificate attested at the UAE Embassy in Nigeria, Ministry of Education, Foreign Affairs in Nigeria, and also attested here in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here in the UAE.
Okay.
We have doctors among us also. He's a doctor and has been working here for more than 10 years, but still his work permit wasn't renewed. So the fact that I'm hearing some Nigerians saying it has been renewed, no, I can't tell you that for those that had their visa renewed, it's either they are under a free zone company. Free zone company aren't affected with this issue, right? And those working in the semi-government and the government aren't affected with this issue. But for those that are working, that the organizations are under the Ministry of Labor, they have to issue work permit, they have to sign a labor contract, we are affected. And I must tell you that 90% of Nigerians staying in the UAE have their companies under the Ministry of Labor and Immigrant.
Okay, Mr. Ogugbo, so she says that, I mean, it's not everyone on that 1, 2, and some in 3 that are being renewed. And she gives her example and says, in fact, it's 90% of Nigerians that are under Ministry of Labor. So it implies that majority of them have that challenge. So when you said those on level category 1, 2, and some on 3 have their work permit being renewed, did you say it in that context, or was it absolute?
Yeah, I talk on based on the statistics I have as one of the leadership of pro-Nigerians. We ask our people and they share the information with us. People that got renewed shared with us. People that did not get renewed also shared with us. So this is not about the person of Kayode Ogungbonwu. It's on the information that we receive from the membership of pro-Nigerians in UAE. There is possibility that she have people that are not renewed. Yes, we also have people that are not renewed, and also have people that got it renewed, sincerely. So if there is opportunity for those that got renewed, that are not even on free zone.
Okay, Mr. Ogungbonwu, just a minute. When you was Esther part of those who you reached out to get that kind of confirmation?
Yeah, I did not get in touch with Esther. I don't have Esther's contact before now. And I'm not sure she's member of pro-Nigerians in UAE. If she's member of pro-Nigerians in UAE, we used to share the information anytime. The first time this happened, the people
Hold on, hang on. So wait, if you're not a member of pro-Nigeria, whether you're a Nigerian, you're affected or not, you don't get what? Any information, any benefits, any attention? Is that what you're saying?
No, not so. When we have platform for communication, people that are on that platform, we hear about the communication and they will share the information with us. That is what I mean by that.
So is it that you never got any message or that type of message that she just spoke about from any quarters whatsoever? No kind of feedback?
We have people renewed and we have people that are not able to renew. We have both. We have both the information. For the free zone she mentioned, yes, free zone have no any problem. But for people that are in the onshore companies, they have problems. Some of them have problems. Some of them also have it renewed. That is the message I'm passing across. This does not mean that problem is not there. The problem is there. And that problem is calling for attention of everybody that can assist us to resolve it. The problem is there. People are not able to renew some people are not able to renew their employment. Some are not able to get new employment. Some that want to change employment are not able to do. We are aware of that. And we want it to be addressed. But that does not mean that it is total zero. No, that is the message we want everybody to get clear.
Well, Mr. Ogugbo, it will sound like there is some targeting somewhere. Okay, go ahead, Esther.
Thank you very much. So I wouldn't want to be saying things that, but I would want to correct an impression. If we are 100% number of people in Nigeria and 2 people aren't getting work permits, it should be a general problem. Even if some people are getting work permits, for the fact that some Nigerians are out there, let me tell you, sir, the only grace I have right now is because I don't have a husband here in the UAE. What happens to those single people that are out there? I do not have a job, they do not have money to exist in the country. I don't know. Those people are so much more in the streets. So right now, for those people getting their work permits, they only have to grace. Now it shouldn't be talking about some people are getting and some people are not getting. This should be a general problem for everyone right now. Even if you're getting a work permit, you should just do it. But for the fact that 90% of people aren't getting a work permit, it is a zero. That is the impression I want to give to you. All right, we can't get we have other nationalities here in the UAE. We have the Bangladesh, we have the Philippines, we have this. If among this nationality, if two people aren't getting a work permit, I know what those people can do. We don't have to be divided. All right,
Esther, just a second, Esther. Let Mr. Ngbon react to some of the issues you've raised. Mr. Ngbon, please go ahead.
Injury to one is injury to all. But we have to put the record straight. If, for example, she said 90%, even 99%, the 1% in need to make 100 is also significant. So the point is clear. This problem is there. Channel television know a little about what we have done. We have not folded our hands, even when we are not authority. We are consulting with the authority. We are speaking with people. I used an illustration before. It was not like this in in February last year. What happened? What happened before the dog that has been dancing when seeing us started barking? What went wrong? At a point, we don't, even to date, we don't have a specific cause that is communicated to us officially. But we also know one or two things are happening. And the next thing we should do is we should talk to ourselves. It's unfortunate that people are being affected, yes, but that does not say that we should not do what we're supposed to do. As we speak today, we should be talking about solutions. What are the solutions?
The question then to ask, first of all, Mr. Ogungbo, would be, because, you heard when we asked her, what is the reason for all of these? And she says no reason was communicated whatsoever. So that's what I would also want to find out from you, especially in the light of what you said, that it's affecting some people, it's not affecting some people. Is there some targeting happening somewhere? What exactly are the reasons that you may have found out?
Well, as I said, there is no official communication on the causes of this issue. There is no official communication to anybody. Because when it happens...
What would be the reason?
What could be the reason? Any reason we say now is speculations. And it will not be ideal to come and speculate on issues like this. Any issue, anything we mention now is going to be speculations. We have some speculations, but it's not meant for public discussion like this, because there are things we have to work on, but everybody have to work on it, so that if I thought those are the things that UAE government consider to take this decision, they should be addressed. That is our concern.
But do you feel insulted that no reason has been given for this? I try to flip the roles sometimes and imagine that, will this have happened in Nigeria, and Nigeria will not give a reason, and the country will not think, why do I do such a thing? So I just want to know, do you feel insulted that this is happening without a reason given?
Well, for us, we are not happy that we don't have specific reason, because if we are able to get specific reasons, we will be able to address it specifically. Unfortunately, the authority that's supposed to speak on this, I don't know if proper communication has not taken place, and that should be the embassy and the consulate or the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They will be able to mention if they have reason, but they have not communicated that to us. So maybe we can communicate with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Nigerian Embassy in Abu Dhabi, and Consulate of Nigeria in Dubai.
Well,
get if there is any specific reason to them.
Well, yes, we reached out to them. We're hoping that they can speak up on this matter, because there's so many people who want some clarity on this same matter. But Esther, in addition to your response, have you gotten any message from any government officials whatsoever? For those who are affected by this?
No. Well, I think those that went to the embassy, because actually when they went to the UAE embassy, I wasn't around, still in Nigeria. From the information we gathered, we were told to bring the documents of those that were put for evidence purposes, for them to have an evidence that, okay, this thing is really going on. And trust me, they have submitted documents for around more than 100 documents for them to back up this theory. All right, so I'll just quickly chip in something. If we want a solution to this problem, what we need is unity. Because right now, all I'm saying is we are divided. I do not know. I see no reason why they will say for some people that are in pro-Nigeria, I don't know, they are having a work permit because they've entered something and some people aren't getting it. See, if the UAE government has an opportunity to listen to this conversation right now, they will think we do not know what we are doing. All right, so the thing should be, even if some people, if 20% of people are getting the work permit, all right, it should still be Nigerians. I mean, what I just and what's it's paining me right now is for the fact that you're saying some people are getting work permits. It shouldn't be. If 100% of Nigerians aren't getting work permits, then we are not getting it. Please, I really want the president of Pro Nigeria to please. Let's be united. I don't. It shouldn't look like some people are doing this and some people are doing that, and so no, it shouldn't be like that. It should be that we are in this together. It looks shabby. It looks shabby when just imagine if a UAE government official is here now. They already have reasons to be backed up that Nigerians are getting work permits. At the time someone is saying someone in skill level 1 and 2 are getting the work permit, what does that mean? You want to tell me that the other nationalities in the UAE, like Bangladesh or the Pakistan, they're on this skilled level. They don't have, most of them do not work with their educational certificates. So as Nigerians, shouldn't be an exception. We shouldn't be an exception now.
I don't know if I can also have some.
All right. Okay, the issue now on ground is
if I can butt in here, Mr. Ogungbohun, this is going to be for you. I know that Esther is pretty upset about the situation right now, but this is going to be for you, Mr. Ogungbohun. I want to know, I think it's your own group that started this campaign, this I Am Nigerian campaign. Am I correct on that?
You are very right. But not pro-Nigeria specifically, but we are part of it.
Okay, what informed that decision to start that campaign?
Yeah, we saw the problem and we linked it to an illustration that if a contractor is working for Channel Television, and by chance, the contractor, maybe one way or the other, something happened, and Channel Television blacklisted the contractor. And the contractor is not doing anything and kept applying for contract from Channel Television. There is possibility for Channel not to give. We know, as we said, that we don't have any official reason why this issue is here, but we speculated that there are some things happening among or done by Nigerians in terms of not obeying the law of the host country, one way or the other. And that led to, okay, what could be the solution? The solution is to speak to ourselves, to be law-abiding. The solution is to appeal, to pacify the UAE government, to change their decision and allow all category of jobs to be given to Nigerians. Because these jobs that are not given to Nigerians are also being given to some other nationalities. So what we are saying is they should. That is why this campaign came up. After this campaign, there are some other activities that we have lined up just to make sure that, okay, if there is any problem, we should be able to address this problem. One of it is to make sure that we have our database.
I'm going to take you up on some of the other activities which you have lined up after this break. Please stay with us. Well, thank you for staying with us. Mr. Kayode Ogungbohun and Esther Adedokun are still with us from the UAE, and we're talking about this issue of work permits. Well, Mr. Ogungbohun, you are talking about just some of the things that you had lined up in addition to the I Am Nigerian campaign, which you said you had to come up with as a result of what has been going on in the UAE. You say you have some speculative reasons as to why the UAE government might have might have gone down the route that they've gone down on, and you think that this I Am Nigerian campaign will persuade them otherwise. Is that, did I capture that correctly?
Somehow corrected, but As I said, whatever we say is speculation. Let's have it that way. And speculation is not enough to take any decision. So we thought if those things are real, what can we do as Nigerians to first of all address ourselves? We have talked about this, I am Nigerian, to make sure that we project ourselves. If you look at the campaign very well, we are trying to talk about the job we do here in UAE and the way we contribute to the economy and the well-being of people of UAE. Number one. Number two, we said we should look at, okay, if it's possible, can we have our database? Can we make our diplomats to be available for us to talk to us whenever there is any concern by making them available on social media and the website and also communicate freely? We thought of that, and that is ongoing. We also thought of communicating with our people. If they have any complaint, instead of calling labor directly, immediately, is there any means we can communicate to ourselves so that we will reduce the number of times we lay complaint at the labor? These are part of what we put in place. We are also taking another step to engage the pastors, the body of pastors in the UAE, which are African pastors, to assist, to speak with the youth, so that coming to anywhere outside Nigeria, they should ensure that they respect the law of any country they are going to. And I want to use this particular opportunity to speak with the general overseer of our churches, Baba Adeboye, the Oyedepo, and so on. When these youth are leaving Nigeria, they should remember to respect the law of the country they are going to. It's very important. If they are violating the law, they have, visa to any country, employment opportunity in any country is by the creation of the country. If they choose not to give visa to anybody, there is nothing anybody can do about it. But in this regard, we have the privilege before. Since we have the privilege before, we think we should also have the privilege. And it's not our right. As you ran it in the first report you showed us, it's not our right. It's a privilege. If we have had it before, whatever that may want to make them to withdraw it, we want them to reconsider and give it to us so that it will be given to all people and all category of employment, not about level 1 or level 2 or level 3. That is our concern, and then we are really pleading to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the ambassador in UAE, in Abu Dhabi, and the Consul General, and whoever that can be of help to us to look into this thing and resolve whatever that is there diplomatically, so that everybody will be happy and Nigeria and UAE will have job as they used to have before.
I was going to ask you how effective this campaign has been. Would you say that you've seen fruit that it has yielded as a result of this campaign, or would you say that attitudes towards Nigerians are also changing as a result of these campaigns?
This is just the 14th day of the campaign. The only thing I can say is that Nigerians are now aware that there is problem in our hands. Maybe before they thought it's a joke, but now we are aware that it's because what started in July last year, and that is still here now. And if you just fold our hands without doing anything, we might not be able to go anywhere. So precisely, it has made us to leave the stage of denials. We have come to the reality now that there is issue that everybody have to address. And this is everybody's responsibility. Individuals at work should show love and care and commitment to their employers and to their co-workers. Anybody doing anything contrary to the law should try to stay away from that, so that at the end of the day, we'll have good name and we'll have good reputation as Nigerians everywhere we go. Not only in UAE, everywhere.
Well, Mr. Gubo, is this happening to other nationals who perhaps are suggesting...
Sorry, please, can I chip in something?
Okay, Esther. Just a minute, Esther, you will. Okay, just 1 second, Esther. Mr. Gumo, is this happening to other nationals who, for instance, are not complying with the laws?
We heard that some countries have had such experience before. I have not seen any document to show for that, but we heard some countries have had such experience before. But in this, we just want to, because as I see, I want us to know that visa issuance is at the prerogative of the host country.
Yeah, we know some of those things, Mr. Gungo. Just hang on a minute. Do you have any assurance now that the ministry officials are doing something about this?
As I said in the report you ran earlier, based on the word of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, he said they are working on it. He said it.
Esther, go ahead, please.
Yes, please. I want to correct something in between what Mr. President has just said. I don't want us to say, I don't want us to have this impression that it's because of the atrocities committed by Nigerians. That is why we have this issue. All right? Nigerians aren't the only nationality in the UAE that commit crime. Not just in the UAE. I'm not here to stand for people that does those things. Of course, I am bluntly against them. But I want us to correct this impression that this has nothing to do with the atrocities committed by the Nigerians. If you're talking about atrocities, we have nationalities that does worst things compared to whatever it is Nigerians are doing here. This is the diplomatic issue, and we want it resolved. Now I'm going to chip in something. Do we notice that all this thing started happening after it was almost 6 months when there was a flight ban between Nigeria and the UAE? If we had to believe that if this flight issue is being resolved within weeks, or let's say within weeks and a month, this work permit issue would be done. All right, this thing it's a diplomatic issue. I don't want us to chip in, and Nigerians are committing stuff. We have to talk to our pastors, like Papa Adeboye or Papa Idepo needs to talk to their members. No, it's a difference when you talk to people, and it's a difference when people get to use it. When you're well trained from home, wherever you get to, and if you know whatever you're going to do out of your father's land, you should know whatever you're going to do there. So it shouldn't be about our worship, our pastors talking to the members that they should portray a good attitude out there. No, this has nothing to do with our pastors right now. This is a diplomatic issue between both governments, and we should remove anything called atrocities. Atrocities that has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with this.
So Esther,
right, that's actually what I wanted.
So for you, did you have any police record? Have you been arrested? Have you broken the law? Trying to understand why this happened.
I have never been arrested. That is why I said it has nothing. That's why I said it has nothing to do with this. I have never been arrested. I do not have a police record. As a matter of fact, in my previous company, in fact, I am the best. Up to this moment, my managers, my HR, my other colleagues, they still want me back there. All right. So I have never, if we're talking about having a police record, then having atrocities being committed, it is understandable. And if for me that I do not have any issue with UAE government, then my work permit should be done. Then we can understand that those people committing atrocities are those that are affected. It shouldn't be those of us that has been living in UAE for more than 3 years, or for those people living more than 10 years. I do not have their work permits renewed or issued.
Well, Mr. Ogugbo, so it will seem from Esther's point of view, she doesn't have a police record. She hasn't done anything. If anything, she says she's even the best where she works. So she deserves to get that work permit renewed. So I think that just trumps the argument of whether or not this is related to some Nigerians, committing crime or whatsoever.
Evidence for me to show I'm the best. I can show you my certificate.
Right, Esther. And I think, Mr. Ogugbo, it will make sense to both of us. Imagine if one coyote somewhere commits a crime and they say that all coyotes have to suffer for that. I mean, it doesn't quite make sense. But let's talk about what government is doing, because it would seem you're holding brief for government, and you are not government. I mean, let's be fair on you. You are not government. You're doing this out of the love you have for Nigerians in the UAE and the rest. In terms of government, because we have the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we have other representations, we have Nigerians in Diaspora Commission and the rest. We have representation in the UAE as well. Has the government done enough from your point of view?
That is a question that is very difficult to answer for me, because I don't know what they are doing. I don't know the step they are taking. I'm not part of the system of government. So if you ask me that question, it will be difficult for me to answer. I don't know the meeting they are holding. I don't know the consultation they are doing. I don't know what they are doing specifically. But when we ask, I'm telling you authoritatively, we have spoken to the ambassador of Federal Republic of Nigeria to UAE. I've also had the pleasure to speak with the Consul General of the Consulate of Federal Republic of Nigeria. I've also been opportune to speak with the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
When last did they speak to you, or did that conversation hold?
Well, the one that I had with the Minister of Foreign Affairs about 2 weeks ago, two Mondays. Today is Monday. Yes, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, precisely.
What about what about the others?
Yeah, others we are talking regularly, because
specifics, please. When last the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission? When last did you speak with them?
Nigeria Embassy. We still have discussion yesterday, and it is and even the consulate. Still yesterday, we still have discussion. But what we are talking about is what is the way out, because we know.
So what was the outcome of the meeting? Was there any hope? Is there anything being done? How far? How close to achieving, at least resolving the challenge?
Chamberlain, I want to direct you to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the embassy, and the
Mr. Gugu, I'm talking about the conversation you said you had with them yesterday. Did you get an indication that they're close or far to resolving the challenge?
The conversation is not about the outcome of the result from the UAE government. What I am
What were you then talking about?
Then let me answer.
Was it a dinner?
What? Yeah, give me the audience. Now, what I am responsible for is, we have said we noticed some things, which any Nigerians in UAE, we say these things, they cannot always be kept under the carpet somehow. So we are concerned. That is what we have within our own power, the association. We are not authority in any way. We cannot take any decision. We can only
all right, Mr. Ngwo, just to give us a few numbers. How long has this travel ban been for, and how many people can you say from your records have been directly affected?
The number, what Esther said before, when this thing started, we reported to the embassy. Embassy said it's not so. Listen, please. Listen, please. When they said it is not happening, we came back to people. If you are affected, bring evidence, including your Emirate ID, to show that you are working before. Name of the company, to show that you are working before. Response from your company why your job cannot be renewed.
Well, Mr. Gugu, we need to close this segment now, but we just want you to give us some numbers. When did this start?
We submitted up to 100 names of people that are affected already.
From your own records, or that you know about? Because there are other records. There are other news reports all over the place that say as far as much as 500 people have been affected.
From our own record, Pro Nigeria submitted about 100 lists with the name of company and Emirate ID.
Since when? Okay, so when did this start? When did this whole thing start?
It started in July 2021.
Okay.
It started in July 2021. And we submitted that, I think September or October or thereabout. And I know many people have been affected after that. And people that are not able to get new job could not get anything to submit.
All right, Mr.
Ask those who want to meet again, it's much.
Okay, Esther.
Please.
Esther, let's have your closing thoughts on this matter. So what exactly do you want the government to do?
My closing thoughts. Oh, okay. Actually, my closing thought is first thing first. I would want to please plead with the president of pro-Nigerian in the UAE to please, whenever he's giving us any information, it should be legit. We don't want to have him, since he is the one representing us right now. Because right now, since he's been the one in touch with the UAE embassy, the consular, it should please speak on our behalf. Tell them what it is we are going through. And if you're coming back to give us a report, bring us a legit information with a confirmation that you've had a reasonable discussion with our representative, and then do let us know what our hopes are. And to me, I would want to say, really, I used to be, anywhere I go, I used to say, I am proud to be a Nigerian. I am proud that I am a Nigerian. But right now, I don't know what to say, because really, my government has failed me. My leaders, they had failed me. The fact that when you go to bigger organizations in the UAE, when they called you for an interview, like me, I'm going to make an instance. Sorry, when I was called for an interview, my interview was done, and wow, my COO was like, "Wow, this is brilliant." And then when he asked me, "Where are you from?" I at first I felt reluctant, and I was like, "Okay, I'm from Africa." He said, "Yes, I know you're from Africa. Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Nigeria." I was like, "Whoa, Nigerians, Nigeria." Then I had to convince him to make him have another mentality, a very good one about us, that we are good people. So what I want you to say is, our government, they should please do the right thing. It's going to 8 months already. They shouldn't abandon us here. They shouldn't abandon our citizens, their citizens here. We place them there for them to take good care of us. We can't say that we've been having this issue for this long and our president isn't aware. No. That's why we have the ambassador here, we have the consular here. They should talk to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. They should relate this issue to the president. Then he should do the right thing for us to be on our stable mind. All right? We have families back home to take care of. Okay, whatever it is we are making from it, we are not staying in the UAE, Nigerians in diaspora as a whole. Whatever it is we make is what we send back. That is what is generating the income of Nigerian as a whole.
All right, Esther.
Right? It's so bad if we are out there and we don't have anything to please. We want the solution as soon as possible. When we mean as soon as we mean ASAP. Like, we mean starting from this moment. It's a Monday. It should be our way, and it should start doing the right thing.
Yeah, that is understandable. In fact, you remind us of that Nigerian taxi driver, Abraham Aradion, who returned over 100,000 in Dubai to the owner. So there are several others who are doing good, and we should highlight those ones as well. So, but here's to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Well, you heard them there. So it will be right to do and act as quick as possible. So all the other agencies, Nigerian Embassy, NEDCOM, they'll be looking to hear from you, to say the least. Well, we have to thank both of you for talking to us today. Esther Adedokun, who is a resident in Dubai, as well as Kaide Ogungbo, President, professional Nigerians in Dubai. So you might do well to get a lot more, to broaden the net and the scope, as you may have had, to get more feedback. Thank you both, and we wish you all the best. We will be back in a moment here. Don't go away.
certain order that bandits should be classified as terrorists. This is to enable security agencies to take more stringent action against them. So we expect to see significant changes, and we expect to see this. By the grace of God, peace will return completely to all our villages and communities in this state and all across the country. This, as you know, is the President's desire. This is what you want to see happen. And I'm sure that with all the measures, the new measures that he has ordered that are now taking place, we should be able to see a very significant change in the security situation in the country.
Well, as we talk politics this year, we'll also be talking security alongside, because, as I always like to remind us, the president did say that security is a front burner issue, and that was in his January 1st statement to all of us Nigerians, at least those who are also resident here in Nigeria as well. So, what progress have we made with regards to security, coming from where we were coming from in 2021, and even the reports we've already gotten from certain communities in 2022? High on that list is Zamfara. We also have heard from Niger. Over the weekend, we understand that there was some trouble in Kaduna as well. But some quiet seems to have returned to many parts of the northwest of the country. But what progress have we made? And if we've made progress, how can we sustain it? Let's talk to Mr. Ibrahim Modibo, who is a former member, Presidential Campaign Council of the APC. You're welcome to our studios this morning.
Thank you very much, Margwe. Good morning, Nigeria.
Mr. Kasim Afegwa is also here with us as a former member of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council. You're welcome as well.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Well, gentlemen, let's look at I don't know what you will make of your assessment of our current security situation coming from 2021. We know just how turbulent that year was for us with regards to security. The president says we're not going to take our eyes off the ball in 2022, and it's extremely important as we go into 2023. For you, Mr. Modibo, how would you assess just how whether or not we've made progress with regards to security?
Thank you very much, Margwe. I'm happy to be here with my good friend Kasim Afegwa, a long-time political ally, to discuss this issue of great fundamental importance. In his patriotic and nationalistic intervention in the process of good governance, Mr. President, right from the onset, has made some cardinal tripodal structure, so to say, of the issues he wants to tackle head on. One of them is security, fix the economy, tame insecurity, and also fight anti-corruption. Fight corruption. Now, if you look at the issue of security, has attracted a front burner within the poverty of this government, whether we like it or not. In the last 10 years or in the last 6 years or so, Mr. President has spent almost about 10 trillion naira in terms of provision of security apparatus for our security. This is a man that believes that Nigeria should be governed with human face. Nigeria should be governed, people should have peace and tranquility for peace, progress, and prosperity to prosper.
So that is his belief. But the question is, how is that translating to the actual security that people feel? We know that it's been a very tough one, especially in the northwest of the country. I know, speaking with the president at the beginning of this year, he acknowledged that, there's been some progress made in the northeast, but he also acknowledged that there are big problems in the northwest, which we're now trying to confront. The track which we saw there, which was played before coming to our studios, was that of the vice president when he went to visit Katsina on a condolence visit. And he was there assuring people that peace will soon return to many communities that have been terrorized. So there is some acknowledgement that things are not yet well, but, so despite his good intentions, it doesn't seem to have translated yet into actual peace and security that people can feel.
It is a noted fact that even the president himself acknowledge the fact there are challenges. Security is a big issue, and there are challenges. These are some of these issues should have been tackled a long time ago, but with what is happening at the moment, the president inherited most of these things, and they are, cascading into this administration. He has spent a lot in terms of provision of security apparatus. Look at the...
He inherited the problem in the Northwest?
No. Of course, security issue had been there right from inception of this democratic distance. Look at the Northeast, Boko Haram. By then, it spiraled to the Northwest, but only in some few areas where we've seen people wrestling cattle and then picking people, but not in this large scale occupants of these terrorists. All we're saying, the president has done well by at least allocating resources for defense and security. He has encouraged the security men and women, especially the military, by their rapid promotions, and then also meeting to the yearnings and aspirations of their security needs. Look at the Tucanos that have been bought. Look at the weapons that have been bought. Is it the president that Nigerians want him now to go and fight on his own? He has done that before when he was a Jos in third division in Jos, when he drove bandits from Borno State right into Chad.
But for you,
now,
I mean...
For now,
yes.
Mwakwe, you see, we have to commend also our security men. To be candid, they've been doing well, especially within the fringes of the Northeast. Look at the issue of Sambisa Forest and also Boko Haram. But the major challenge now is the Northwest, especially Zamfara, Sokoto. He himself admitted, and everybody knows, that there are serious challenges that has to do with security in this country. And therefore, whether we like it or not, it is a noted fact that there are challenges. But these are challenges that I think are...
How would you say, that's what I wanted to ask you. I mean, that's precisely what I'm asking you. How would you say that we've made progress with these challenges? Have you seen us confronting it headlong?
Oh, yes.
And tackling it as we ought to?
Oh, yes. With the commitment of Mr. President saying that, look, although it has become more of a national anthem, most times when there is any major skirmish or major pitfall in terms of security networking, the president is always giving assurance, and it's very commendable, because you have to assure your citizens that, look, you are doing something. And I strongly believe... Do you
feel assured?
Yes, I feel assured in the sense that if you look at the security situation, recently, if going by what is happening within the Northwest, you will agree with me, Magwe, that the police and the military have been able to infiltrate, especially in Zamfara and Sokoto. They've gone there. The major issue now is Niger. If you look at Niger, because of the expanse of land, it's a country of its own. Niger State can accommodate about 2 or 3 West African countries. So it is so large, and it is, if you look at the flora and fauna, this is a state that has been surrounded by a lot of vegetations in terms of trees, network of trees, and then rocks and what have you. So it is a good hiding place for some of these bandits and terrorists. And therefore, what the Nigerian military need to do is to invest in technology. We have to. If somebody will come and kidnap a person and will take him into a forest, without us using technology to find out where the person is, then it becomes a problem. Okay. And that is the major concern now. Not even the Tucanos. The Tucanos are here. But how have they been effectively used? If they are being used, I think we are making progress. To be candid, the military must be commended. We are making progress, but I think there's more that needs to be done.
Okay, let me come to you, Mr. Febua, even though we just have maybe about a minute or two before we go to break. I do not know, for security agents, they always say that, the criminals can be wrong. I mean, all they have to do is be right once. They have to be right all of the time. If the criminals are right once, it would seem that they have not been doing anything. From what you can see, from your own assessment of how we've tackled our security challenges so far, how much progress would you say that we've made?
Well, let me say that the problem of insecurity in Nigeria is peculiar to the case of one of my friends, my political friends, who is a perennial aspirant in Edo State, Kenny Maswagbo. Every time election is coming, he prepares, buy rice and share to people, expecting that you'll get results. Doing the same thing over and over again on an issue, it is the same way that the government of the day has been doing the same thing, expecting different results. You have to think outside the box to be able to tackle the issue of insecurity. And how do I mean? It is not just about investing resources, just like he said. How much of resources have you invested and how much of monitoring to ensure that those resources are actually meant for the purpose they were released? Don't forget that we have seen in this country where there are protests of non-payment of allowances. We have seen people, police and all of that demonstrating in Maiduguri and elsewhere. You see, meetings are held all the time, behind closed doors. When those doors are open, what do we get as a citizenry, as a fallout of those meetings? So I'm saying that I think we have a very novel, war on our hands. Novel in the sense that the Nigerian police were not trained for this, or the Nigerian military are confused about this, because it's like an ad hoc approach. You hear pockets of attack here, you hear attack here, and they just go. There has to be a methodical, planned, sustained, and deliberate effort to ensure that you sustain the fight. You may have your casualties figure high at some point, but it will diminish. How much of conversations are going on between president and some of these people? What is the body language of the people? The bandits. Because we had Gumi, a Nigerian cleric, who was going around meeting these people, these bandits. That means they have forwarding address.
We'll come to that, to the strategies that have been employed so far when we come back from this break. Please stay with us. We're talking on the issue of security here on Sunrise Daily, and we have with us Mr. Kasim Afebwa and Mr. Ibrahim Modibo, who's a former member of the presidential campaign of the APC. Well, gentlemen, you were just talking to Mr. Afebwa, you're talking about strategies and how we need to think outside the box. And you talked about how the bandits, now known as terrorists in the Northwest, have a forwarding address. Some people will say that, that method was employed, that all manner of methods have been employed. In the Northeast, for instance, there's a safe corridor program for former terrorists who have laid down their arms. There's a safe corridor under which they could be converts, and we will, how will I put it now? There's a word they use, de-radicalize them, and then have them back into society. That is a program that is currently ongoing. In the Northeast, I beg your pardon, in the Northwest of the country, the state governments, because fighting insecurity is not just the problem of the federal government. The state governments have also been very well involved. We saw a few state governments come up with an amnesty program. In Zamfara State, we saw that. In Katsina State, we saw that. It was very controversial at the time, and it would seem that the state governors now regret going down that route of granting them amnesty. So it looks like we've thrown quite a bit of things at this problem in the Northwest, yet it's not yet given way. When you talk about thinking outside the box, was that one of the things you're thinking about, amnesty for them?
Well, you see, the point is, to a large extent, I'm not seeing coordination between the government of the day, whether state government, federal government, with the rural communities that are involved in this, in terms of intelligence gathering and using those intelligence information, to take action that will be decisive on these bandits. The point is, there was a time that Sheikh Gumi was going around meeting bandits and their heads. Yes. It means that there is a line of communication. How much of that the government exploited, so that they will be able to at least get a thinking into the mindset of a typical bandit. The cleric got tired at some point, I say he was pulling out. I didn't hear of any kind of, robust engagement with the cleric with respect to getting information about these people's operations.
Isn't this about the economy? Because so far so good. What we got out of that conversation, and I could be I stand corrected on this issue, was that these people had suffered for quite a while. These people who had now become bandits, their own cattle had been rustled. They claimed that there was, they had largely been ignored by the Nigerian state, etc., etc. And so they now took to crime. But it would seem that they have now found that crime was profitable. So that no matter what it would seem that the government was going to do, they would, agree on one hand, but if it was not yielding much profit anymore, they went back to what they had originally known.
We're still saying the same thing. You see, economy, any factors that are responsible for this, it is the responsibility of the federal government to think outside the box and create platforms where you can address some of these issues. The economy you're talking about, how much of investment has the federal government put into education of the typical youth in the north who is roaming the forest or this? When you have a government and a president that was making case for grazing routes in a 21st century world rather than ranching, there's a huge problem. Why do you expose your youth to be taking cows from the north to the south in the first instance? That youth ought to be in the classroom to gain knowledge that will make him behave as a civilized citizen of the country. But here you are, rather than say, let's move forward, the president will be talking about 1960s grazing routes in a new world. So we're having, a contest of two wars here. The wars of the grazing routes that is already primordial, and the new world that talks about ranching and maybe plantation agriculture and what have you. So if you want to improve or impart on the well-being of these people, you need to sit back and say, come, let's think outside the box. You display that you are producing rice, you are doing this, you are that. How much of these people are you be able to engage in all the process? Because the forests have become unsafe. So rather than just throwing bombs, bayonets, and all of you, and guns and bullets, I would prefer that you throw biro and writing materials to all these youths. And it has to be a deliberate and sustained effort. It is not ad hoc. Don't display ad hocism in all of this. You have to sustain an effort and ensure that the Almajiri schools that were introduced, where are they today?
I was just going to ask Mr. Modibo, what he thinks of your suggestion. I don't know what you make of Mr. Fegbua's suggestion in terms of throwing biros and books at the problem. He thinks that that's one of the things that we need to do. What are your thoughts on that?
You see, the issues are multicultural and multidimensional. Multicultural in the sense that if you look at the problems associated with this banditry and what have you, here are people that since the dawn of history, they've not been bothered for in terms of government attachment to them, in providing social infrastructure, giving them schools, giving them education, and even taking care of their well-being. And culturally, these are people that are attached to their cows. It is part of their lives. It's a normative structure where they grow up, right from the dawn of history, they grow up to old age and die. Without government, but coincidentally, these are people that are always paying taxes to the government. But the government has not been forthcoming in terms of meeting their yearning aspirations. So if you look at the issue of poverty, it's attracting a front burner in all these issues. These are people that have been accustomed to a lifestyle, nomadic lifestyle, where they have their cows. And suddenly some people come and rustle it, kill some of them.
Do you think that the stance which you've had towards the issue, because we know that this issue of nomadic education, it didn't come up today. There are people who have, thought about it and said, look, perhaps we need to take education to nomads, and we have to move along with them because this is their culture, this is their lifestyle. While we also find solutions, we've heard of how there have been, is it grazing settlements? I'm trying to remember the actual word now.
The Ruga.
Yeah, Ruga is like a word that just came up again, but we know that they were...
No, Ruga
they
is an ancient name, you know.
They came up... I'm trying to find a word that's less controversial. But let me say grazing settlements for not being able to find that actual word now, that have not been taken over. They have not been used according to the plan that they had for those settlements. But this is where we currently are, and the people who graze cattle have been affected by cattle rustlers. In many instances, entire villages have been razed down. Their cattle have been rustled, their lives have been taken, and the people who are doing it, it would seem that it's now a new economy for them. They don't see any other thing that's going to give them as much money as they would have made if they were just to raise cattle alone. How do you think we can begin to change mindset, even though, yes, the federal government has taken a hard stance, which is now to declare the bandits terrorists, so that there can be some demarcation in terms of the treatment of these people. But do you think that is enough?
You see, the plan of the government, as good as it was, has not been able to achieve much successes. Why? For very obvious reasons. One, Magwe, the nomadic education program just started in Ruga and ended in Ruga. Was there any plan? After primary school, the next step is secondary school. After secondary school, the next step is university. Has there been any plan? There hasn't been. So it was only to go and teach them ABC and just and sing songs, and then 1, 2, 3, that's all. There hasn't been this concrete plan of government to attract education to these people so that they reach the highest peak or the peak of their academic callings.
So in that respect,
yeah, you find out that the whole thing ended at that pedestrian level. And now coming up, when you're talking about, these Fulani people that, in fact, it is even a crime now to be a Fulani man in Nigeria. We're in danger. Because anywhere you go, they associate you as a terrorist. And it's very unfortunate. And seeing to the fact that, look, these people have had their cattle being rustled, and now they've gone into this issue of armed banditry and terrorism or kidnapping. It is a very sad commentary. In the culture, genealogy, if you look at the culture of the Fulani people would high respect dignity and cultural values. The Fulani man has never been known to be a thief. No, could he have been a beggar? No Fulani man that begs, and no Fulani man that steals in those days. But now it has become a profile. Fulani people have been profiled. Wherever they go, they'll say, look, this guy is a bandit, he's a kidnapper. And it's a very sad commentary. But how do we check it? The only thing that the government should do is to look inwards, try to find solutions, provide solutions to some of the problems.
Is the solutions we're talking about?
Yes, the solution is...
We're asking whether the solutions that government has proffered so far so good, how effective have they been?
Which are the solutions, Mark? What are the solutions? Up to now, as it is today, there hasn't been any concrete solution that is mapped out for these people. Their cattle have been rustled, their villages have been razed. Wherever they are, they've been seen as, they've been declared persona non grata. Where do you want these people to go? And in the whole of sub-Saharan Africa, the cattle Fulani or the Fulani people occupy almost all the countries of Sub-Saharan Africa.
You know what?
There's nowhere you go, you don't find
In
Fulani.
a conversation that we had with the president in January this year,
yes,
talking about the Northwest specifically, as I did highlight earlier, he said that in the Northeast that they have made significant progress. But in the Northwest, he says it's a problem that he doesn't understand, that it is Fulani people fighting Fulani people. Fulani, it's the brothers of people of the same ethnic group stealing their own brothers' cattle, dealing a very strong hand to their own brothers. He doesn't understand it. When you now say that Fulani people have been profiled, the question is, who is profiling Fulani people?
In the Northwest.
If in the Northwest of the country, yes, where this problem, because you talked about Sokoto, you've talked about Zamfara.
Yes.
These are largely places inhabited by Fulani people.
No, you see,
and they have suffered from the hands of fellow Fulanis.
Our geography, the location of this area, does not suggest that it is Fulani against Fulani. No. The dividing line between the Hausa and the Fulani is very thin. So you will not be able to remove the shares from the grains by way of just looking at the people like that. They are houses. Houses are predominantly
I'm not
farmers.
the one who said it.
No.
It is the president who said it.
I'm only explaining things to you. Houses are predominantly farmers. They farm. That is crop production. While the Fulani people take care of farming based on their cattle rearing. So there are two different things. There are areas where you find that the Hausa people that are farming will go and rustle the cattle of the Fulanis and run away with them. So those Fulanis will also follow them and kill them in their own villages.
Are these things done? Is it that our crime, the crime that is committed now, is it selective based on ethnicity?
No, sometimes.
In the northeast of the country where we have fought terrorism now for how long? The people who have been terrorists, have they looked upon the people whom they have attacked as saying, these people are of our ethnic stock? We shouldn't attack them in the manner. Haven't they just gone ahead to just kill them? I mean, are we really on the right trajectory when we continue to look at this from an ethnic profile? I mean, from an ethnic prism, so to speak.
The issue of Boko Haram in the northeast, where I come from, Mankwe, is purely religious or overzealous in terms of religious affairs. But that of the northwest is purely economic. They are just terrorists, they are bandits that want to steal. They kill, they steal. That is the modus operandi. But in the northeast, it is purely a religious issue. So they don't select, there's no selection. But in northwest, based on my study, it proves, Markway, that most of these banditry attacks and what have you, they are done for economic reasons. Either to collect monies or for vengeance of this group coming to kill my people, and me too, I'll just organize some this to go and revenge. So it is something that has to do with, it's not about religion. It is about pure economic issue. It is stealing.
Let me take this to Lagos now. I understand my colleague has a question or two for you. Ayo.
Well, thank you, Markwe. I just wanted to ask the two gentlemen with you there, what role the traditional rulers and religious leaders could have played in this whole melee. Let me begin with you, Mr. Fegwa. You remember recently the vice president, along with a couple of governors, have re-emphasized the need to reactivate the role for traditional institutions in the fight against insecurity. Some of the issues raised by Mr. Modibo there would probably have been resolved if those issues could be taken from the angle of traditional rulers, don't you think?
Yeah, very well so. You see, that's why I said there are no useful conversations going on. There are no platforms by government to engage some of these people. The traditional rulers, I remember telling, in Castina, was telling the vice president that both himself and his people, that they can't sleep with their two eyes closed. That's to tell you how bad.
Isn't that a role for governors specifically, and not necessarily the federal government?
It's a symbiotic relationship kind of thing. It should be. That's why I said earlier on that there are no coordinations. You see, it got to a point that even governors were entering the forest to go and negotiate with bandits. There, you see bandits carrying AK-47 and all that. You begin to wonder how they got access to these leather weapons. You see our own military soldiers in camouflage uniform and all of that standing beside the governor taking pictures with bandits. So you have inadvertently promoted the art to be something of a heroic exploit, kind of. When these bandits who have never seen themselves in pictures on television and all of that, seeing that they are standing with the governor of a state and all of that, and they are taking pictures and what have you. So my point is, there was a time they said the borders are closed. How are these people getting access to food, number one? Secondly, leather weapons. Every now and then you see the weapons they are even carrying appear more sophisticated than the ones that our military and police are carrying. So it baffles one that I think there's too much of layback. You can say that the military are trying, they are fighting the soldiers and all of you, but how much of upkeep do you even give the soldiers who are fighting? How much of allowance do you provide for them? How much of care do you give them? I saw a visual sometime when the governor of Zamfara State was bringing out words of naira to give soldiers who were on duty and all that. They were shouting and they were hailing. It's that kind of scenario. There has to be a methodical, planned, sustained, and deliberate effort. I keep saying this because you have to have a plan that you marshal. The Air Force, the Army, and all other security agencies have to build a synergy, some kind of synergy, coordination. If you throw your bombs, there should be a troop down to mop up the remnants. But how much of that are we seeing? We don't see. In fact, there were more or less some kind of infighting between all these sister agencies and what have you before now. Thank God this new thinking, there seems to be some difference. But it is not just about throwing bombs. There has to be a way to mop up those remnants when the bombs have been thrown. So my point is, government at both federal and the state level must work together, must build a synergy to ensure that the right things are done. If you have a program, you monitor that program to the end. There are no schools.
Well, just a second, Mr. Afegba. We're running out of time. Let me ask the same question of Mr. Modibo now, especially against the background of some of the things that you've talked about. When you talk about some ethnic group in Nigeria being profiled, what responsibility would you say should be given now going forward to the traditional rulers, especially of those classes and groups of people that you talked about?
You see, it is very unfortunate that within the confines of our new democratic culture, we've not been able to imbibe or bring forth the traditional institutions. They are part and parcel of governance, especially in the days gone by. Recall during the colonial period, they played a very fundamental role. During the independence and post-independence, they also played fundamental roles because they are the fathers of the nation. If the traditional rulers, especially when we were growing up in the 60s, going to the 70s, you find out that the traditional rulers, they know the people in the area. They are the arbiters of law and culture in the area. So if there's any strange people, or if there are strange people that come to their area, they will know. And therefore, they are highly respected, highly revered. And therefore, there is the need for them to be brought into the administrative structure of governance. Democracy is government. It's participatory government, and therefore why are we skimming traditional rulers out of governance? That creates a very big this thing. It creates a very big conduit pipe for crime and criminality. The traditional institution, as it is, should come on board and should be offering advice to the government, meaningful advice, and also participating. If they do that, I strongly believe that in terms of tackling security, they have a lot to advise the government on the way to go about it. But then the onus rests on the security and also on governance. If Mr. President has been able to supply all the much needed funds for these people to go and fight these bandits, I've seen no reason why by today we wouldn't have captured or, totally eliminated banditry and terrorism in Nigeria.
I was just going to tell you, Mr. Modibo, that on the issue of traditional rulers, you and the president are on the same page. He does believe that there should be a bigger role for traditional rulers to play, especially.
It's not about believing.
In the light of security.
It's about starting the process.
Exactly. So there were questions as to what we've done about the belief. But we have to thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the program this morning. Mr. Ibrahim Modibo is a former member, Presidential Campaign Council of the APC, and Mr. Kasim Afegba is also a former member, PDP Presidential Campaign Council. And I'm
happy Modibo spoke like an opposition. Very nice.
Like an opposition.
Very honest.
Well, that's what we have to do today. Let's look at this. The mails we now have. Gentlemen, we're about to wrap up now. There'll be time enough for that. Henry Awunono is sending this mail talking about insecurity. He says, what is the value of one human life in Nigeria? What does Nigeria lose from the killing of one citizen? Till the sense of loss is realized, citizens' lives prioritized, and attacks reckoned as serious governmental failure, it will still continue to be a new line item that fizzles as the day dawns.
Well, Badi Emmanuel says this reason why security problem in Nigeria has remained intractable is because successive governments have not viewed it as an existential problem, but rather as societal evolutionary trend. Hence, the responses have been symptomatic.
Take a look at this one from Olagunju Oladele saying the solution to insecurity is never the end goal or objective. It's rather the route required to solve it. If existing security schemes aren't working, that means they are flawed by design. It's usually the effect of bureaucracy that exonerate leaders from taking responsibility for the crisis done within their territory. Any security official that fails to protect or prevent his or her territory needs to be demoted or sacked.
Johnny Sage says about the same situation, I feel for those, well, no, that's a different situation. That's concerning the Nigerian workers in UAE. I feel for those Nigerian citizens in UAE. The Nigerian ambassador needs to look into this. Nigerians are contributing to their economy with their different skills and should not be treated as trash in return.
Well, Bright, I don't know if this is Irene or Irene, talking about Nigerians in the UAE, says, to be honest, some Nigerians living in foreign countries don't really know how to conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. Also, there are stereotypes against Nigerians, no matter how good or bad you are. That's from Bright.
Olukegbu thinks what is currently happening to Nigerians in UAE is the hush puppy effect. He says the landowners are waking up to the realities of what some Nigerians have done in the UAE now. He says, don't expect any resolution soon.
Well, Oladipo gives a personal account on this, saying he resides in the UAE and he finds this whole labor ban issue a complete affront on Nigeria and Nigerians. This will be a complete and serious diplomatic engagement between the two countries, he says. He goes on to say they need Nigerians as much as we need them. No other African countries or country comes to UAE on tourism more than Nigerians.
This one tweet from Gondo says it's very obvious that the UAE government wants to limit the number of Nigerians getting a work permit on their soil. It is left for Nigerians over there to understand that.
Well, that's how we'll have to leave it today. Thank you so much for your emails and tweets. It's good to situate it back on the screen. Thank you for watching.
Oh, make it a profitable week. Didn't quite hear Malpwe. I'm Kayode Okikielu.
I'm Maya Makine. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
I'm Chamberlain, so goodbye.